Hey, this is Tim Corey, and this is my tour of my office. This is for all you patrons who support me. I appreciate it a lot. Let's start off with where we're at. So we're right now in my living room. This is my living room. There's the TV, woohoo. And straight ahead, this is the door to my office. Now, originally this is a white door. Well, when I got it, it was a white door. As you can see, there's multiple layers underneath that I was scraped off. And as I was scraping off, I ran out of time actually. And so I said I need to have a door temporarily. So I put my door back on. This is during my office remodel. And I put it back on and said, I'll finish in a little bit. And then I kind of fell in love with how the door looks with the different layers of paint. So I'm actually gonna scrape off that white panel that's left, and I might just leave it here. We'll see how long it lasts. I may paint it at some point, but for right now, I kind of like the way it looks. So let's go right in. The first thing before we go in, notice the light in the upper right-hand corner. That is my on-air light. So if I come in here and turn on the light, you can see that lets my family know that I am recording at that time, and they try to be quiet. So that's to help out. I do have some noise canceling with my new office, my office redo. So we'll go through that. But this is my office. Let's come on in here. The office is not done yet. I have just finished the remodel. First of all, the blue paint, all of that is an extra layer of drywall. I put in the recessed lighting, which actually is on a dimmer as well. I put the soundproofing panels on the wall. I put up the noise cancellation in the corners. That also is actually noise cancellation, but it's also I liked it. So this is where let me get back here far enough. This is my desk setup. So that's my desk right there is my chair. I love my chair. It's actually a quite expensive chair, but it's really done a lot for my back. So I'm really appreciative for that. This right here, that's my side monitor. I don't actually use it that often. That's for presentations where I need to go full screen. That's not for YouTube videos, actually. I record my main screen for that. I'll show you that in just a minute. But for full screen apps, I use that side screen. Okay, over here, notice, let's come on around. This bookshelf is new. This is something I built from some wood that my grandfather, who passed away about 1.5 years ago, he left to me. So I made a bookshelf out of it on that side. And then over here where it's not done yet, this is the not done corner, that's gonna be another bookshelf just like this one. So you have a full bookcase, about 4 feet wide and about 6.5 feet tall. My big comfy chair for when people come visit me. Again, I'm not done at this side of the office, so it's kind of in a weird place right now. That'll fit more into this in this corner over here. So it's kind of tilt a little bit. And I'll have a window covering as well. Right now, I'm waiting for that. The window covering that's gonna come is a special window covering that's designed to block out noise. Because you can't see it right now, but out there past that window, about 25 feet is a major road. And so that can get quite noisy. Okay, let's come on over here. This is my main monitor. I'm gonna have a seat right here. So originally I had 4 monitors here. And the reason I had 4 monitors was I found that, well, 1 monitor is great, 2 monitors is better. And where 2 is better, 3 is even better, and 4 is amazing. And at first I thought, I'll never use all 4. It's just, I'll leave stuff in like my email or my web browser, and I found I use them all. So I was using those for about, I think 1.5 years, 2 years. And then when 4K TVs came down in price, I got the idea, why do I have 4 1080p monitors when I can have 1 4K monitor? And so that's what I'm doing here. The benefits here, even though it seems like it's ginormous, I actually only look at 1/4 of a screen at a time. So as you note, the upper right-hand corner right now is my web browser. That's typically actually the upper left-hand corner, but for right now it's the upper right-hand corner. And that takes up 1080p. That is 920 by 1080 is the actual pixel dimension, because that is the recording corner. So that's where I record all my videos. So let me just move this around. When I go to record, I'll move Visual Studio up here like so. and I'll do all my recording here, and the recording window will be just the Visual Studio window size. Now I will move things off a little bit just to give myself a little bit of space, like so. Notice they do snap to the 4 quadrants, and that's because of a tool I use called Max2, M-A-X-T-O. So I've been quite happy with that. It makes my life a little easier. Now, let's see what's going on here. We don't need that. That's the, this is kind of like a throwaway window. It's stuff I'm looking at, but I don't really need. And so let's go ahead and get rid of it. Now I'm set up right now for recording. So we'll walk through that in just a minute, but let's walk through the rest of the equipment that I use. Over here on the right, a couple of things. This right here, this is where I put my iPhone. It's actually a charging pad, and so that keeps my iPhone up to full charge. And when I'm not charging it, because I do try not to leave it on forever on charging, I do have over the left, I have this just simple stand. I like to have my iPhone sitting up because it shows notifications, and I only have a few turned on, but the ones I have turned on, I want to see. So along with that, let's see, I have my drink over here, very important. That's what keeps me hydrated when I am speaking, and that's can be quite difficult sometimes when you're talking for over an hour. I do use glasses, but not prescription glasses. These are Gunner glasses, and they're designed to filter out the blue light, I believe, from the computer. It helps my head, and it actually has a slight magnification to it, but mostly it's about the coloration. So they're actually a yellow tint. Up here, I do have a USB. That's actually USB 3.0, and then these 3 down here are just for charging. I don't use this for charging anymore, but I actually have a different charging pad. I'll show you in just a minute. I also have a Bluetooth transmitter, and that's for my headphones. I use Bluetooth headphones. These are awesome. These are Sony's, oh goodness, I forget the model. It's like something 3000, like WM3000, something like that. They're great. So Bluetooth really makes my life a little easier when it comes to moving around the office. I don't have to worry about a cord. I have used the Bose in the past with a cord, and these noise cancellation headphones are even better. Okay, what else? Back there, this right here is actually my second attempt at creating a lighthouse using my lathe. So I'm just starting to get into working the lathe, and so I tried it out. I like the beach. I like being at the beach. I like everything about the ocean, and so just kind of have it on my desk because I like it. So that's all there is. I have my pen stuff. I have stuff for my wife. That's stuff she's given me, and then over here I have hiding back here. There is this is just for charging. That's USB. So I can charge my Fitbit. I've got a Fitbit I wear all the time to try and remind myself to walk, because it can be difficult sometimes when you're sitting at a desk to remember to walk, and so that helps. Unsalted peanuts. It's not necessarily a health thing, but at the same time, I love unsalted peanuts. So I eat those quite regularly. That's not a bad snack to have. And then, of course, over here, my wireless Brother printer, colored, duplex. It's a pretty cheap printer. I think it's $125, something like that. But it's great. It just works. All right, what else? One thing that drives everybody else nuts a little bit is underneath my desk, I have a heater. I use that heater about, let's say, 9 months out of the year. We live in Northeast Pennsylvania, and Northeast Pennsylvania is cold. And personally, I am cold anywhere from about 70 on down. So for Northeast Pennsylvania, that's 10 months out of the year, we're 70 or below, it seems like. And so I use my heater quite a bit, even though my friends typically are on the cooler side. My wife's on the cooler side, so they like it cooler. I kind of like it warm. So I'll use that quite a bit because it's nice to turn it on for just a little bit and then turn it back off. And the heat underneath the desk kind of traps in there, and it makes me warm without making the rest of the house warm. Okay, I think, one more thing. Let's turn around. Whiteboard. I missed the whiteboard. This is my idea board. This is where I go to scribble things, ideas, things I'm working through, and this will change. It depends. Sometimes I'll sit here for a month, sometimes I'll sit here for a day. It all depends on what I'm thinking through. This is what really helps me kind of visualize my ideas in a way that helps me see them in a different light. So I encourage you, when you're designing applications, to get on a whiteboard or a piece of notepad paper. This is my whiteboard. And then over here is my notepad. So as you can see, there's, that's actually I drew out some sketches. So this right here is, I'll stand here and think and draw stuff out and erase stuff and draw stuff out and write stuff down. And it just kind of reorganizes my brain and allows me to see things in a different light. So in this case, I was visualizing the different recording I had to do. So I have, up the upper left corner, I have the Timco series and the things I want to do with that. Then I have the one-off column where I'm looking through. We've got a lot of stuff to cover in YouTube videos. These are all, the one-offs are all YouTube videos. There's a lot of stuff I want to get covered in that. And then also have on the right the rough schedule. Don't hold me to it, but roughly this is the schedule for full courses. So we have the project types of the foundation series come up next. And that's hoping to do a start to finish on Razor Pages, probably the help desk app one, and then another foundation course on data access. And then I want to do a getting started on HTML and CSS. That's gonna be kind of a big one to get done because there's an awful lot of web stuff we're gonna cover. And then the foundation course, we're gonna do a full project. So those are the things. I do have a Udemy course. That's not public knowledge yet which one it is. So I kind of erased that and wrote over it, just C# niche course. It's gonna be a C# course. It's not gonna be one I've already covered. It's not gonna be just, I'm not gonna copy and paste over in Udemy. I want something new for that. But this is not my move from Teachable over Udemy. I'm not planning on doing that. I'm sticking with Teachable. I love Teachable. Udemy is not the same income stream as Teachable is. And so I'm going to be just putting a couple things on Udemy. And the purpose there is more for awareness of who I am and letting people know that I have courses. So that's that. Maybe someday I'll get to more stuff on Udemy, but I'm just not sure. So far, I haven't liked their business model for creators. It sounds great. You have 10,000 sales, but if 8,000 of those are free giveaways, then you're not really that far ahead. Or if they're $9.99 or $5.99 for that course, well, the creator only gets half of that. So yes, 2,000 course sales at $5. That's $2.50 for the creator. That sounds great, but the reality is that's only $5,000. And only, yes, that's a lot of money, but it's also a lot of students to support. So it just hasn't been my model yet. Sorry, I get a finger in the camera. Let's go to the actual computer. Let's talk through what I'm doing right now. So tonight it's about, let's see, 10:30 or so on a Sunday night. I'm actually behind. Normally I try and get these things done earlier, but I'm still recovering from vacation. Vacations are great, but they do let you kind of sink you in a hole when you come back. And I didn't take the chance to do a whole lot of work on vacation. That's kind of the point. And so coming back, I had a lot of stuff to get through. So I'm doing the video at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday. So let's talk through what we're going to do. So this is the .NET Core 3 desktop app video. So we're going to build a WPF application in .NET Core 3. We're going to build a WinForm application in .NET Core 3. And we're going to build, I'm not sure about the console yet. I'm still debating that one. So here's what I do as setup. First thing I do is I go to Canva. And it's going to be a little bit small when I try to zoom in here. I'm going to try and do it as well, recording as well. So I go to Canva, and I've already done it here, but I'll modify my template and put the new words in here, in this case, .NET Core Desktop Apps, and then I'll download that. So that's my first step once I have my design. And then from there, what I do, and there's actually some stuff I learned, we'll get back to that. What I do is I put that in a folder and I name it. So I've got this image here, and as you can see, that comes up like this. Great, woohoo. But what I've started to do, and this is part of my process, and we'll get into more depth when it comes to the next milestone video. Because the next milestone video is more like a documentary of the entire process of creating a video. But in this one, we're going to do an intro kind of thing to create a video. And so what I do is, it used to be that I would just record my screen and then I'd add bumpers at the beginning and the end. And part of that bumper at the beginning was the image. And so I'd modify it in Camtasia, which is the tool I use. Excuse me. Need some water. Maybe go ahead and do that. All right, better. So I used to do that, but it's time consuming because I have to modify or edit every video and remember to do that. And memory is not the best thing for me. It helps to have those steps in place, which has helped a lot, but I still want to cut down on the number of things I have to remember and the number of steps I do between recording and publishing. The less steps I do, the faster videos get out. The faster videos get out, the more I can do. So I do everything I can to optimize this process. So step one is I create the folder in OneDrive. I have a folder for each of my videos. So if you go to, I know it's getting small here, but if you go here, you can see there's an awful lot of videos now that I've done, and there's subfolders inside these folders. So I have my image. And what I do now is there's a tool called Honeyview. And Honeyview, if you notice, it opens the upper right-hand corner in my recording spot. I can drag and drop my image onto it, and now you notice it's a full screen image, no border, no nothing. That's what I've been using. So you notice the transitions are a little bit different than they used to be. It used to be the transition would fade from this over to my video, and now you'll see something more like this. And the difference is I am minimizing, I'm going down here and I'm clicking on the icon and minimizing that, and now behind it is my Visual Studio. Now right now Visual Studio is not prepped for what you'd see next, which is the startup screen. So the reason it's not prepped is because I'm actually I'm just finishing up my my last test of all the different things I want to show off. So before I do a video, I have the concept, I learn with the concept, and I make sure that I understand it really well. That for me is critical, that I understand the process as best I can, because otherwise I make mistakes or add confusion to the issue. I try really hard not to add confusion to the issue. So after I've done that though, the next thing I do is I create this type of app. Notice it's ugly. So I had console UI, but then Windows Form Apps 1, and then Windows Form Apps Old, and WPF Core. And the reason why I'm testing all these different types and how to set them up. And so I'm trying things out. I'm making sure that what I'm going to show you works the way I expect it to, and there's no bumps in the road. So I'll do this, anywhere from 1 to 4 times. As I find new issues, I might delete a whole project and start over again, or I might just add a new project into the solution I already have. These solutions get thrown away. This is just to make sure that I understand. And there's some stuff, like notice over here, these 3 lines right here trip me up a little bit, making sure I get them right in the project file. And you'll see that in the actual video if you haven't already. But those things will trip me up a little bit. And so what I'll do is I'll keep this app running. And I'll make it a little smaller, shrink it down. I'll leave it and highlight the section that I want to make sure I remember. And I'll move it over, and it kind of grew me again. I will move it over, and I'll usually move it down in the lower left-hand quadrant. And I'll just kind of shrink that down just what I need. And I'll leave that there so I can make sure that I get it right the first time. That, again, just makes it a little easier for me when I'm recording videos to know what I'm saying and know what I'm doing, okay? So that's another one of those little tricks that I do to try and make life a little easier. So what I'll do now is I'll right-click in here, go to the preview, I'll open a new one. It's going to pop this up. I click continue without code. It's going to open the wrong window, the wrong section. I'll put it in the right section, and then I'll do file and go to start window. I'll also look at this list right here and make sure that there's nothing on here that they don't want on here. So I'll remove anything I don't want. For example, I work on customer information, and I really don't want to show off even the solution names for customers. I try not to do that. I try and keep their privacy and try to make sure I don't, give away even the littlest bit of trade secret. So I don't have very many customers. I try and keep it at 3 or 4 or so, just because that's not my primary business. So yes, you can hire me technically, but I do have a web page on IamTimCorey.com that talks about consulting, and the very first thing I get out of the way is my rate's not cheap. And the reason why they're trying to keep that customer number down. So that's not my primary business. My primary business is helping you guys. Okay, let's talk through research. So research, let's open this up. This is called Toby. I use Chrome for everything, and Toby is my start page. And Toby allows me to basically put bookmarks, they're called quick links or something like that, and I can categorize them into current teaching topics, to teach, channel improvements, to research, today's reading, and so on. Which those categories, they sound like I know I'm doing, and they're not really. I might put something in one spot over the other just because it fits better. So it's not quite current teaching topics versus whatever. But that's how I organize my stuff in order to know what to teach about. For example, one of the things we're going to cover today is on here. It's in here somewhere. I should know where it is. Oh, right there. So it's this one. Create a trimmed, self-contained, single executable in .NET Core 3. So this is from talking.net. So talking.net.com. That's where I got the idea from. That's what I was reading here, and those 3 entries that they covered. Now, no, I did not directly rip off blog posts. That's not my style. But one of the things I find is that, first of all, there's a lot of smart people out there, smarter than me, and they've done a lot of research, and I definitely benefit from that and help you from that. But the other thing is that not everybody teaches the same way. And so what I found is that there's often 1 or 2 little things that are missed. So for example, in this one, everything's about command line. Run this in command line, or you can put these in the project file. Cool. Like I said, I really appreciate this article. I'm not trying to bash it at all. But what it does not show is, well, how do you publish it by right-click publish? It's not just adding these 2 lines, it's actually adding these 3 lines. And so, just little tweaks like that are important. And so this doesn't cover the right-click publish. So I try and take these concepts, learn from them, and then from there create content that is valuable for you. Okay, so that's how I do some research. I'll usually have a bunch of these going. So for example, there's ASP.NET Core 2.1 with app with Docker. There's HSTS. There's some really cool stuff in tips and tricks for .NET Core. Some of that will be turned into a video. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. One of the big things, I'll go back to the whiteboard for a minute. One of the big things that people keep asking about is microservices. So, and that's a big one to know about, because even if you're not going to do microservices, the tools you get from that, with message queues and with Kubernetes and Docker and those kind of things, the tools are really cool and they're really powerful. And so even if you don't go the full microservices route, which can be quite overwhelming, knowing about it is important. Sorry for the camera spin there. Sitting back down now. Okay, so we've got through the research portion. I've researched my topic. I have built my test application after I have learned how to use it. So it's not my first test application. This is my last one. And then I've set up my window, so I'm ready to record. And I've got my Honeyview here, so I can pull that up. Now the next thing I do, I've got set up in here. Let me just minimize these. I have a whole bunch of icons on my desktop. Now having a 4K desktop is helpful because you can put a lot of icons on here. And one of the this set. Okay, so this set that's right here. These are all scripts for recording. So for example, the one I'm opening right now is this YouTube script right here, and that's down here. Now, what this is the beginning of every video, there's two things that I want to communicate clearly. The first one is what this video is about. So in the first 30 seconds of a video, you should know whether you want to watch this video or not. And so I try, and this is something I've grown into, I've not always done well. What I try to do is I try to introduce the video. So this is my introduction to the video, these two paragraphs. And it says, I wrote this out and rewrote it, and I'll probably even say it a little differently. So if you look at that and go, that's not quite right, don't worry, when I read it, I'll go, yeah, that ain't right. Or I'll kind of freestyle a little bit as I think it's important. Okay, so I really try to talk to you the way I think, and talk to you the way I think that we'd have a conversation with. Because I think that's helpful. Hopefully it is. So that's the first part. Like I said, that's a scripted part. I will stick close to that script. You can even read it and see how close I came if you watch the other video. But after that, the other thing I want to communicate is, this is kind of the promotion portion of the piece. And in some ways, I've always been a little hesitant about promotion, okay? In fact, you're a Patreon member, but it took a number of fans to convince me to even have a Patreon. And the reason why is because they've always wanted to provide more benefit than you pay for. And the idea that you're paying for something just to say thank you it's the opposite end, okay? You've gotten the value, and then you're kind of coming back and saying, well, thank you, and here's some money for it. And I've tried to do the other way around. But at the same time, I see the value of Patreon. I see the value of, hey, I can't pay for a ton, but I can do this. Or, hey, I just want to say thank you, and here's how I'm going to do it. Or support the community. And that's what I've come down to is I can use this to then support the community. And that's what all your Patreon dollars go towards. Now, don't get me wrong, they go toward my salary. But I am now full-time because of not just Patreon, but that's a big chunk of it is Patreon. So this is kind of rabbit trail here, but self-promotion has not been my strong suit. This is not what I'm here for. I'm not here to make everybody know the name of Tim Corey. What I'm here for is to help you make C# easier to learn. That's been my goal from the start, is I want to make C# easier. Learning C# can be difficult. I have a passion for making it easier for others. And so that's what I do. And so this self-promotion, I've come to the conclusion that it's not self-promotion. I'm promoting the idea of expanding and growing and helping more people. And this paragraph is how I do it primarily. So this paragraph is where I talk about Patreon. It's where I talk about the mailing list, which is where you get information on courses and new courses and other stuff that's going on. And I'm trying to expand that a little bit, and we'll get to that probably in the next month or so. But so this is my, hey, make sure you subscribe, make sure you're on the email list, make sure you're a Patreon member if you can, all those things. And as I try and keep it short, I try and change it up and not make the same thing all the time. But I do try to put something in here at the beginning. That way people know right up front, hey, here's how I can get more information. Here's how I can learn about courses. Here's how I can even help out the channel and help out others who are also benefiting from this content. Okay, so that's the two pieces that I try and script out. So we have the start, which is introduce a video, and then we have the promotional piece, if you were, and then it's jump right into the video. So all of this will be done when this is on the screen, and then as soon as we're done reading that, then I will go over to Visual Studio. So that's the setup preparation work, and this is exactly how I laid out. So I have my 4 quadrants. Right now the upper left is empty, but I have my script in the bottom. I'll have my Visual Studio in the lower left-hand corner for reference, and then I'll have my Visual Studio or image to work on. Okay, then let's open up Recorder real quick. So I use Camtasia Recorder to record my screen, and what that looks like is just this. So this is the tool I use. Notice the dotted lines that go all the way around my Visual Studio now. They aren't there in the video, but that's just telling me this is where the recording will happen. And what happens is I hit record, and then I can hit F9 to pause the video. Every once in a while I'll do that. Usually I try and tell you if I'm going to do it for, if anything's going to change on screen. And I will not tell you if I'm going to cough or if I'm going to grab a glass of water. So I just hit F9. Notice the clock is stopped at 17 seconds. Then I hit F9 again, and it starts up again. So that's my basic process there. And then when we're done, I hit F10, and that stops the video, and it gives me a preview window. And the preview window allows me to listen in. So it's currently playing. You may actually be able to hear it because my headphones are still on. But I can pause that, and just to show me did it record or not, and I can hit save or I can hit delete. In this case, I'll delete it. I don't want it. You know what? No. Let's go ahead and actually create it. So we're going to say save and edit. And for now, it's going to save in Timco. We'll keep the default. The Timco folder is where all the Timco videos are recorded. So that's a really big one. All right, so now I've saved it there. What's going to happen next, and it's a little slow, but Camtasia itself is going to open up. And once it does, and it's going to open up big, wow. Every once in a while it does this. It doesn't respect the boundaries of my quadrants. So let's shrink it down. Here's where I make my edits. So upper left-hand corner. Why? Because. That's pretty much what it is. So one of the things that, this is the newest version of Camtasia, which is Camtasia 2019. So 2019 version. And one of the things they've added to it that went away after Camtasia 8 is they had great audio scrubbing. And they took it away because they lost the license for it. And now it's back. So it used to be what I would do is I would pull the audio out. So I actually do I would say export audio only. I'd export to a WAV file. I would then use Audacity to clean that file up and save it as a new file. And then I'd re-import it. I'd delete the audio from here, and then I'd bring the audio in from the new WAV file and also make sure it's synced up. And then from there, I produce my video. Now with Camtasia 2019, the quality is really good. It's not perfect. And in fact, if I was of more professional quality, maybe, I'd probably do more work on this. But again, my goal is not to have pitch perfect, beautiful quality audio. My goal is to get these videos out the door so I can do more. Because I have a ton of content to give to you. And so instead of spending tons and tons of time making edits, what I'll do is I'll just do noise removal. I'll drag that on, and that cuts out, you can probably hear in the background, my computer is whirring. I do have, again, that window is to the right, and that will let in some noise from the road. and even my breathing. It'll try and cut some of that stuff down. So it's pretty good. It's not perfect, like I said, but it's good enough that I can say that that's all I really need. Now, as far as edits go, if I find a section that has a problem, I can select it and I can hit the cut button, and that cuts that section out. The other thing I do is on any video on Monday, I have a bumper at the end, and that is this end layout here. I just drag it on, put it at the end, and now if we look here, there's that end layout. So what I'll do is I'll put a transition on that of a fade, and so you'll see that it'll fade to black. Actually, it fades right into the other one, sorry. I don't do fade through black, I just do fade. And that's where I have my face, and then I have the 2 videos that might be suggested for you, or playlists, and of course the URL for my website and Patreon and Facebook. So that's just something I created kind of on the fly, but I wanted to have, again, those suggestions for, hey, if this was interesting, this next video might be interesting as well. Just to kind of keep people on YouTube looking at my content. So that's that. When I'm done, what I do is I export, or I create a local file. And instead of doing the settings every time, I actually have an I am Tim Corey preset, which is 1080p. It's an MP4 file, and that's pretty much it. So I title it, I save it in the folder that has, let's pull up here, I save it in this folder that has the image. So I'll save the raw file here, and I'll save the produced file here, and I'll save any zip files that I create from my from Visual Studio. Anything else that goes along with this particular video goes in this folder. So that way, if later on you say, you know what, hey, that video on access modifier is pretty cool, can I have the end zip file? It's gone for some reason online. Well, there it is. Okay, so there's the MP4 file, the ping file, the raw TREC file, and the TSC proj file. So that's the Camtasia file, the raw recording file, and then of course the start and end of my actual application. So that's how I store things, so that it's all right here, all accessible, in case I need it again. Sometimes I do. So once that is produced, then what I do is I go to YouTube and I upload it and name it and schedule it. So that's basically an overview of everything I do. That's pretty much it. So before I go, a couple things I didn't show you, I just realized. Let's walk through. First of all, the bookshelf. So I talked about the bookshelf itself, but I didn't actually show you anything about it. So first of all, this right here, this is a mug from the first company I ever worked at. So this is where I got my job in programming, actually. So I started off as an engineer's intern when I was a junior in high school. And guys kind of just helped me out. And I blew through all the work he had for me, the boring work. And so he allowed me to create a small database for the company that they used for about a decade later. So that's kind of my start. And from that, it really took me into the programming field. Now, the original database was in Access, and I wrote VB scripts, or VBA, I believe it was, VBA scripts for that, and reports and all the rest. Intel Software Innovator, I was actually the first class of Intel Software Innovators for software that I created for them. Up here is my family, so that's my wife. In the middle picture, that's me when I had hair and no beard. My boys when they were little, so they are not that little anymore. My sons are 16 and 14 now, and they are both 6'3", so 6'3". So they're quite large. Over here is my Microsoft MVP award. It actually is tomorrow I get my next ring for the 2019-2020 year. So that's coming up. My books. So books that I recommend. This shelf is pretty much all books that I like, that I think are good value. So if you're looking for a library, I'll zoom out a little bit. Looking for a library of books to read, I would recommend this library. So on the far left over here, we have object-oriented analysis and design. That is a really good generic, it's not C#, but it's a generic object-oriented book. C# in depth, that just came out. That's a John Skeet book. John is very brilliant when it comes to C#, well, just in general. But I haven't got a chance to read it all yet, but that's a really good book. GitHub for Dummies. I'm typically not a dummies person. I typically like to have the more in-depth stuff. But this was written by a couple of people that really know GitHub well, and I wanted to get a lot more insight from them. JavaScript, the good parts, really good. Some leadership books. I'll pull a couple here. Building a story brand is something that I am working towards. Donald Miller is an amazing marketer, and one of the things he talks about is the idea that you, as the company, are not the hero. The customer is the hero, and that's something that resonates with me. That's where I'm trying to go, anyways. Is the idea that I want you to be the hero. I want you to succeed, and so what I want to be is your guide, and that's a lot of what Dave talks about, or Don talks about. All right, John Acuff. First of all, very, very, very funny writer, but it's not a comedy book. It's about business and professional life. And so Finish, this is a book for anybody. Finish is an incredible book. It talks about the idea, how do you finish things? Starting is easy. In fact, he wrote a book called Start, and then realized that starting is not the problem. And that's why he wrote the book called Finish, because the problem is, how do you finish and finish well? And so there's a lot of good practical stuff in there. Even things like cut your goal in half, because usually what happens at the beginning, you're all enthusiastic and you create this huge goal. You know that from developing applications. When you have an idea for an application, you have these grand ideas. And when it comes to writing the application, you find out just how much work you sign up for. And that's where we talk about scaling that back to a 1.0 minimum viable product. Well, that's what John talks about with life in general. The minimum viable product for your goals. How to get there, and then how to build on that and use that success to move on. Good to Great, Jim Collins, amazing book. Talks a lot about how to be an amazing company. And it's a lot of work, but it's really great stuff if you can take it in. Moving over, Patrick Lencioni, probably one of my favorite business authors. If you really know Patrick Lencioni, you're in for a treat. So really interesting titles, including the Getting Naked. Not nearly as risky as it seems. The idea there is to be totally transparent, honest, and not try and hide behind a perfect image you display, but instead say, I messed up, I made a mistake, I was wrong. Those type of words are incredibly impactful. But the way Patrick Lencioni does it is that book is probably only about 20 pages of the actual content, but the first 100 to 150 pages is a parable. And it kind of really drives home his points before he even makes them. So really good stuff. Some good stuff in the end. This one I'm still going through, but it's really a good book. Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. It talks about how games are made, and it talks about the real stories that went on. Some great stories, some awful stories, and everything in between about how games are made and the background behind it. It's really fascinating stuff. So, and then if you wanted a fun book of, it's science, but at the same time it's goofy, What If? What If talks about, it answers all those questions. I believe it's a NASA scientist who actually wrote it, but he answers hypothetical questions. Like, what if you threw a baseball the speed of sound? What would happen? And so he goes through it. What if everyone in the world jumped up and down at the same time? What would happen? And he goes through the math, and he talks about it. So just a fun kind of turn your brain off, but at the same time learn something book. So that's my recommended books. I actually there's a lot of books out there. They're all nonfiction, but my primary reading is actually fiction. And the way I do that is typically through Audible. Audible.com is been amazing for me. It allows me to turn my brain off. And the way I do that is I listen to books a lot. In fact, I have about 250 books in my library now from Audible, because it's been years that I've had a membership. And so every month, 2 new credits come and I get new books. And they're almost always fiction books. And the reason why is because it's great to learn, it's great to grow, and it's great to expand your mind. And I do that a lot. But it's also important to have that balance where you turn your brain off. And so I have that with audiobooks. I will listen to fiction books, and it just kind of, it turns my brain off what I'm thinking about with C# or whatever, and it allows me to just kind of go along and enjoy a story without even having to read the words. So what I'll do is I'll listen to the gym, or I'll listen on the way to the grocery store, or I'll listen when I'm just walking around. And so that way it allows me to turn my brain off, get kind of refreshed, and so I come back to developing. I've thought of new ideas, or I have just a kind of a recharge when it comes to getting work done. So that's what I do. That's what works for me. It may not work for you, but that's what I do. All right. Trying to think of anything else. What? I almost forgot. So this is a newer addition to my world. This is the Rode Podcaster mic, and it's got a custom windscreen. It's actually not from Rode. They don't sell this windscreen, but there's another company that does. Drawing blank on where I got that from. But this is it's little. That's what I love about it. It's a tiny windscreen. It's not this massive thing that covers the whole thing. It's on, as you can see, an articulated arm from Rode, and this allows me to position it however I need to in order to get the angle I want. So I use this about right like that. When I'm talking here, I'm trying to give you my perspective. So it looks something like that. So that's typically what I see. So I have my script up. Let's pull that up. As you can see, I usually look around the mic a little bit to see the script, and then up at the corner to see my Visual Studio. So is it a pain? Yeah, a little bit, but it's not horrible. It's actually not quite as bad as what it looks like. Maybe more like that is what it looks like, because I'm about, I don't know, 4 inches away from the mic, maybe a little less. So I try and give it a little bit of space, which reduces the wind off my mouth. Mouth sounds are hard, especially for me. So I really try hard to do everything I can to minimize those. But the other thing I do is I try and offset this a little bit. So I'm not speaking, point on, but more of an angle. What that allows is things bounce off it and go this way instead of going straight on. So it helps with the wind and pops and stuff like that. So that's my microphone. The other thing is this does set up nicely like that, because this is something I'm going to be doing in the hopefully near future. I'll be recording on this monitor and use that webcam, which is on top. That's the Logitech 920. I'll be using that for live streams. And I'm thinking right now, and this is still a work in progress, and as a Patreon member, you'll have first crack at watching my live streams and laughing, because the first ones will always be rough. But what I'm intending to do is probably like a 30-minute or so once a week live stream, not where I code. I've not yet seen the value in me doing that. Some people love to do that, and they're good at it. That's probably not up my alley. But what I intend to do is I get a lot of questions every week, and I answer as many as possible. And as you've seen, I go through YouTube and answer every question, at least the first time. Now, they often go off the page. I don't see the responses, and so I might miss a reply by somebody, but I try not to, but I do. And so the other thing is typing out is first of all time consuming for me, and it's also something where people that might not actually see my responses if they weren't the one asking. And so what I'm going to do is, really my thought is, I'm going to compile some of those questions every week, and then once a week I will sit down and talk through the ones that I think are best explained on video. And it's just going to be my face, and we're going to talk through, hey, this is the question, and here's the answer. And the reason for that is because a couple things, I can have a video to point people to, so when they ask the same question that's been asked before, I can say, hey, I answered that in the video on August 14th, and they can go watch that. But also so that I can have a more full explanation, and maybe even bring in the desktop and kind of show off, okay, this is what I would do. Probably not though. I'm probably not going to bring in anything, at least at first. It'll probably just be me on camera, just so you can see something, and I'll probably make it into maybe even a podcast as well. So I'll do the audio version and put on iTunes or something like that. We'll see. Again, still playing around these ideas. The one thing I'm excited about is YouTube really pushes the idea of paid comments. The idea that it's called Super Chat, and if you pay $1 or $5, $10, whatever, then your comment is highlighted and it stays up longer. And that's kind of cool because it allows for some interactivity, and it allows, even the unpaid comments I can read through. If you're watching live, I can answer some questions right on the spot. But at first I was a little nervous because I didn't want to have that Super Chat. Again, the idea that that I want to provide more value than you pay for. But I've come up with an idea that I think will be that'll work, and I think that will be of benefit to everybody. And that's the idea that any money that comes in for Super Chats will go directly towards scholarships. So in a way, it's still paying me. I mean, I'm not going to hide that. The fact that, if I charge $67 for a course and you pay $67 in Super Chats, I'm going to give a person a free course. Well, that course doesn't cost me anything, technically. It did with time and effort and all the rest. But I'll be taking that $67 and I'll give somebody a free course. So I'm trying to still provide, again, over and beyond some value, but it also allows you, if you're thinking, hey, you know what, I got an extra $5, I can help, and the number of people you can help is incredible. I'll just talk through a few of them, but I get stories all the time from people who are in incredible life circumstances, not in a good way, that watch my content, and a lot of them can't afford to pay for my content. And the very first thing I always tell people is don't. That's not why I do what I do. I don't record videos just to get money from you. My first and primary goal is to help people. And that's why on YouTube I have, I think it's over 150 videos now. Maybe it's closing on 200, something like that, 200 videos. So because I want to help you for free. And that's been my goal. But of course, the paid courses, the Patreon, the Super Chat when it comes out, all these things are, they are revenue streams. And some people feel bad that they can't pay for that. And I don't want them to. So that's the very first thing. But I do want to be able to help in some way. Now, yes, I can just give people free content. But the danger there is then I get in this circumstance where I have to determine worth and worthiness, and are you worthy versus that person worthy? And I don't want to create that kind of battle. I also don't want to create this tension of if you have a sad enough story, you give it for free, and whereas somebody else paid their hard-earned money to do it. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is set up a scholarship fund where people can apply. There will be some type of screening process. I'm not going to ask for tax returns or anything like that. It'll be on the honor system. But what it will be is you just, in a very brief paragraph, you tell you why you can't afford the content, and then you get put on a scholarship list, and then it will be more of a lottery system based upon how many super chats or other things come in. So, and I'll probably even supplement myself. But I've had people from Syria, war-torn Syria. I've had people email me from there saying how much they wish they could pay for the content. I wish I could give them money. I've had people from Argentina. I've had people from India. I've had people from all over the world where the dollar is very, very strong compared to their currency, and they really can't afford to just to buy my content, and that's fine. But I would like to be able to help out those areas, and especially here in the U.S., the U.K., Europe, we have money. I'm not saying we're all rich, but at the same time, we have much more money than other countries. And so the idea that we could take some of the money that we earned and get value ourselves out of it, but then take that and also give something to somebody else, I think it's pretty cool. So that's what's going to happen eventually with Super Chats. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but that's where I'm going right now with that. So kind of ramble a little bit. I want to kind of give you a good overview of what I'm doing, where I'm at, how it works, kind of behind the scenes of what I'm doing. Right now, I'm like I said, I'm prepared to teach this, so I'm going to do that next after I finalize this video. So I really appreciate all you've done. I appreciate you supporting me with Patreon. I appreciate what you do for others. That's directly what your, I don't give free courses away from your money, but I do create more content because of your money. So I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but I do want to kind of give you one bonus tweak, a little bit of my brain here. So this is what I grew up on. I want to show off. So down here this is the Far Side collection. Over here on the right, the complete Far Side collection. Then I also have the complete Calvin Hobbes. I have complete Dilbert, and I have the complete Bloom County. So that's kind of my, turn my brain off, read a book. That's what I do. And I usually sit in that chair and do it. So unfortunately, that's not tonight because I got work to do yet. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish this up. I'll probably wrap up around 12:30 or so. By the time I'm done uploading the video after it compiles, it'll probably be like 1:15 or 1:30 by the time I'm done that and have it scheduled. Once that's done, then I'm going to go to bed and I'll be up in time to go to the gym at 8 in the morning. So that's my plan for tomorrow. So the video launches at 8 in the morning, but just it's a scheduled video. I'm actually at the gym during that time on Mondays. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, I will be at the gym from 8 to 9:30 or so. That's my way of not falling apart as a human because I'm sitting in this chair for too long. So with that being said, I think that's everything. And if not, I'm sure you have questions. You can go ahead and ask me the questions. I'll try and answer them if I can. Thanks again, and have a great day.